My partner, 34 female, and I, 28 male, have been together for 5 years. She has a daughter pre-tween from a previous relationship. Right off the bat, it was made known I had fertility issues and likely would never be able to father a child. So I moved slowly in the relationship, although I had fallen in love with her fast. When things got serious, I overheard her telling her sister she was concerned that I might be an aggressive type of person because the number of scars I have. I didn't want her scared away, so I told her I had a lousy childhood and left it. A little over 2 years into our relationship, I felt comfortable opening up. For the first time, I told her exactly why I was infertile, which directly resulted from an injury I had suffered. She was really empathetic, and I was just thankful I had found the one I wanted to spend my life with that also came with a kid I adore. Fast forward to last summer, my partner and her friend decided to play an impromptu prank on me. I came home from work and had multiple positive pregnancy tests in the bathroom. My partner announced she was pregnant, and I started freaking out, a happy freak out, because I thought I had hit the lottery with the slim to no chance I had. They both started laughing, and the tests were from the friend and not my partner. I was devastated and felt really let down that my partner would pull a prank like that. At first, she was shocked by my reaction and said, "I thought you'd know it was a joke considering your circumstances." She ended up apologizing after realizing how hurt I was. Now for the point of the post. 3 weeks ago, she arranged a huge dinner with her entire family at our house. She had us play this stupid mystery game and ultimately announced to everyone she was pregnant. Her mother and sisters were deliriously happy. Immediately, I got angry, thinking this was yet another prank. So I showed no emotions, which everyone caught on to. I said to my partner, "Either you're just mentally disturbed or you're cheating." That's pretty much when everything broke loose. My partner's POV is that she was sincerely apologetic about the prank, and I should know her well enough not to think she'd ever pull that stunt again. However, she's also livid at me for ruining the announcement, embarrassing her in front of her entire family, causing them to think I'm a horrible person, and then finally insinuating that she's a cheater. I still stand by the claim that had she never pranked me, my reaction would have been different. I do find it odd she decided to tell me along with her family. Things would have likely gone over better had she told me first, and then we announced it together. But I'm starting to think I acted immaturely, causing a scene in front of her family, and I think that maybe that's where I'm wrong. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. That prank was just beyond cruel. And then to announce it with everyone and not tell you privately is insensitive and immature. Your reaction was to be expected. I see both of these as red flags for your relationship. Congrats on the baby though, although I'm sure you'll have doubts until the paternity test happens. It's like cheating on someone, then getting mad at them for thinking you might be cheating on them again. Saying sorry doesn't erase your crappy actions, and it doesn't just magically repair the trust you deliberately destroyed. She seems supernaturally immature. I hope this works out, but I would have left after that awful prank. She cried wolf and it backfired. Honestly, it's odd to me that she decided to surprise you at the same moment as her family. Even without your history, I find that a bit insensitive, as it should have been a private moment for you two first. But especially given your history and the prank, it should not have been public. Your girlfriend sounds attention-seeking and surely has the empathy of a moldy potato. If it weren't for the kid on the way, I'd tell you to run away from her as fast as you can. I thought she was cheating, and the prank was a way to soft break the news to see his reaction and put it out there that it could happen. Beware, OP. Get that paternity test ASAP. She might be scamming you. This would make sense. She cheated, got pregnant, and expected her infertile boyfriend to react badly and accuse her of cheating, giving her out where she looks like the innocent party, when instead he was just ecstatic. She panicked and pretended it was a prank. The next time, a public announcement, only now she's prepared for that, and OP reacted the way she needed. And now her family can all agree he's a terrible person, and she's free to leave him and find a new daddy for her baby, and one might just be waiting in the aisle, ready to white knight it. My wife inherited her parents' house when they moved. When they first bought the land and built the house, the people already living behind them had made a riding trail for their dirt bikes. The backyard is less than 1 acre, and their trail comes into the yard about 75 feet and goes across the yard. Her parents had no issue with this and let the kids keep riding through. So now the whole family has dirt bikes and rides through. When we moved, my wife told them it was okay to keep doing this. The issue began when I started working from home. It was a 1.5-hour drive to my office. My wife didn't like me driving that long, and by the time I got home in the evenings, it was late, and I wouldn't get all my share of household work done between eating, showering, and spending time with her. So I'd put it off until my days off. That caused a lot of fights between us. So the solution we came up with was I took a pay cut and worked from home, since there were no career opportunities closer for me. You can hear them clearly in the house when they ride their dirt bikes. It caused me a lot of issues during business calls and conferences. I've closed all the doors and windows. There's no other room I can use for my office. I've tried talking to my wife about it several times, and my wife has been home a few times where I've had to push a meeting back by a couple of hours, drive to my office to handle business, then go home. My wife refused to tell them that they couldn't use the back ends of our yard anymore because they've been doing it for so long. So I went and talked to the neighbors about it. I told them what was going on and asked them to please call to see if I had any meetings or calls scheduled before they started riding. That worked for about a week until they talked to my wife about it, and she apparently told them they didn't have to do that. So once again, it's noise during the daytime when I'm trying to work. I feel like I've exhausted all my options in finding a better solution to this. So I filed a police report over the neighbors trespassing to get it to stop. They have stopped, but now my wife is livid with me for being a bad neighbor and going over her head over a silly matter. Am I the idiot? Edit. She put me on the deed and is on the deed to the house I owned before we married, so she's not the sole owner. You are the idiot 100% for filing a complaint against someone doing something they were permitted to do. Figure your crap out with your wife and leave your neighbors out of it until you've agreed on their use of the backyard. Not the idiot. I think filing the complaint was perhaps a little overboard, but it's definitely not an idiot move because the neighbors and wife are much, much bigger idiots here. Your wife cares more about neighbors doing a recreational activity than her husband's actual employment. She obviously sucks the most. And the neighbors know they're interfering with your job to ride their bikes. It's not like you even said never again. Just ask first. Honestly, I would have serious issues with my spouse over this. Siding with your neighbors over you in this, when their want is so obviously less important than your need, is a huge, major red flag. Agree. They just went with the answer they wanted to hear. Even though OP's wife said they didn't have to call, they knew OP asked them to do so. They knew OP was mad about it. So what did they assume the next steps were? OP just gives up? OP comes over and tells them again? Do they just ignore him again? They knew exactly what they were doing. They were banking on OP being a much nicer guy than them. They gambled and lost. This is what I was thinking. They went over his head because they didn't like his decision and ran to the doormat wife, knowing she would feel guilty because they've always done it and let them do whatever they wanted and keep disrespecting the needs of OP. It's disgusting behavior. Everyone's the idiot here. What a weird setup you have. Your wife wants you to work from home, but then allows the neighbors to make it impossible to work from home. Why is your wife so mad that the neighbors don't ride their bikes on your property? I don't know why your wife isn't supportive. You and your wife have some serious issues. My 22 male, girlfriend 21, works in chemical synthesis. It may sound cool, but it's about the equivalent of a tedious 9-to-5 office job, but just in a laboratory instead. We live together and commute together, dating for 2 years. My girlfriend is beautiful. She has natural beauty, and while she's not the girliest of girls, she usually wears some makeup every day. Nothing too glam, just simple and honest, like concealer for blemishes, a little bit of eyeliner, that's it. She still looks gorgeous and I love her as she is. Recently I've noticed she started wearing more makeup, with things like pink or red lip gloss or glittery eyeshadow of non-natural colors or highlighter to work. I was a bit confused as I don't see the point because her work requires her to wear a lab coat and goggles and long pants and things that in general don't require her to make a whole look of her appearance since she wears protective stuff over it. When I asked her about it, she said it was just her way of having fun daily by doing some nice makeup. She doesn't have many coworkers, and she says a lot of the work she does in the lab is just her own, so it's just something she does for herself for fun each day. But the thing is, I know she has at least one male coworker, and many, if not all, of the higher-ups that she communicates with in her department are middle-aged men. She works very closely and frequently with her mentor, a man in his 40s as well, and she speaks very highly and fondly of him, and I worry that they'll see her being all glammed up and get the wrong idea. I suggested she wear less makeup to work and return to her normal routine because she looked pretty that way, and I don't want her giving the men the wrong ideas. I feel like my request was reasonable and casual, but when I asked, she went timid and quiet and has been since, and now I'm starting to wonder, am I the idiot? You are the idiot. It's just makeup. If she likes it, there's no harm to it. Do you seriously believe wearing more makeup gives others the wrong idea, such as flirting or hitting on them? What's next? She can't wear certain clothes? Don't die on this hill. Apologize and respect her right to what she wants to wear. Work on your insecurities. Wearing makeup isn't cheating. My favorite part was, I don't want her giving men the wrong ideas. So your problem here is with men, huh? Maybe you should tell the men you know to stop judging women on their makeup rather than expecting your girlfriend to change who she is. My favorite part is him putting down his girlfriend's career in less than 3 sentences into his post. OP, your insecurities are not hers to manage. Nothing about your request was reasonable. Instead, you shamed your girlfriend for having the audacity to do something that she enjoys, boost her self-esteem, and essentially called her a tease. Grow up. I, 28 female, am married to Nick, 30 male. I work from home and earn significantly more than Nick, as he decided to pursue his education and is currently in apprenticeship. My parents' old 4-bedroom house was gifted to me when I turned 18 and where we now live, as they had to move in with my nan due to her health back then. So now they have her house, which is significantly bigger. After the sale and before meeting Nick, I did a full renovation for it to look more modern. Currently, Nick and I have joined savings for a new and better house, and I also have a decent amount that I saved myself. As the house is a gift and mortgage-free, we only pay the bills, which allows us to save more. In no way or form are we struggling for money and are still able to afford holidays and such. Now, Nick came from a large family, and since the global issue ended about a year ago, they started coming to see us and staying over every other week. It got to the point where I felt cramped in my own house due to how many people there were and how much space they took. Sometimes they overstay their welcome, making it nearly impossible for me to work or concentrate on my hobbies. Of course, I'm not mentioning the amount of cooking and tidying up when they're staying or after they left. After they left last time, I decided I had enough, took some time off work, and converted the smaller bedroom into an office/gaming room with library space and a cozy sofa for me to chill. I finished soundproofing it just before this weekend. Nick noticed my workstation had gone, but hadn't asked anything. Last weekend, my in-laws came in again, and I told Nick some would have to book a hotel as we don't have space. That's when he saw my office. He and his family got upset, and they decided to stay at the hotel instead. And it was godsend to be able to relax in my own house for once over the weekend. I was able to catch up with some work too. Yesterday after they left, Nick called me an idiot for setting up an office and not telling him anything. He also demanded that I return to my previous arrangement and convert it into a bedroom. I've reminded him that I work from home and need a quiet space to work, as well as my parents' house, and he has never asked me if I'm okay with his family being over so much. Nick has been sleeping in one of the spare bedrooms and has stopped talking to me. Apparently, he thinks I've crossed the line and am an idiot for saying that about his family. Am I the idiot? Edit. The normal visiting bunch are my mother-in-law, father-in-law, and 6 underage, under 18 siblings. He has over 18 siblings who visit, but they usually stay Thursday to Monday, which is typically 1 or 2 at a time. They do games most of the time together with my husband, which is another reason why I need a separate office space, as they're just too loud. Not the idiot. Nick can take his part of the savings and go live with his parents. How disrespectful of him to have his family there constantly without discussing it with you, and then telling you to change your office space back? No. It seems like he's just taking advantage of you. He should be cleaning up after his own family, considering how much you both are saving because the house doesn't have a mortgage, and because he can do what he wants to do without having to worry about finances. By the time I got to the list of visitors, I thought they were lucky you didn't put up an electric fence and hire 24/7 security. I feel like they're massively teasing your hospitality, including Nick, especially since you're cleaning up after them. I'm pretty sure his family doesn't need to come and visit every other weekend. Not the idiot. Your office sounds lovely, especially the soundproofing. Yeah, he's sleeping in the spare bedroom and not talking to her now also. The disrespect and lack of care about her feelings are huge, and he's trying to manipulate her into giving in emotionally. OP, your husband is treating you horribly. Last week, delivery men were at my house to deliver a long-awaited sofa purchase. 2 men came into my house and seemed friendly enough. I showed them what they needed to do, remove a sectional, and unpack a sofa and an oversized chair into my living room. While they were at the truck and coming back into my house, a man hollered, "Ma'am, did you want your cat to come in?" I yelled, "I don't have a cat. I'm also allergic to them and was leaving town in a few hours." They indicated that the cat had gone upstairs, that it was a tabby cat, and that it had just ran in. I heard it meow several times. During the 30 minutes that the men were in my house, I heard the meowing but couldn't find it anywhere. I was running all over the house, sweating and frantic. At one point, the workers helped me look for the cat, but it was nowhere to be found. Then as the men were leaving and I was signing paperwork, the 2 men finally fessed up that they were the ones making the cat noises. There was no cat at all. I became distressed, but they laughed after telling me that they also played this joke on the other women. They thought they were hilarious, a modern-day Laurel and Hardy. When my husband heard the story, he insisted on calling the store and talking to the owner. Am I the idiot for allowing my husband to complain about the workers and potentially getting them fired? Not the idiot. Please follow up and get them in trouble at work. This is grossly unprofessional. And after seeing how frantic you were about it, they should have realized they went too far. I'm worried this could escalate with bigger and bigger pranks until someone gets hurt. You paid them for a service, not a day of stress. Exactly. She literally spent half an hour frantically searching for a fake cat. This was not funny, wasted her time, and stressed her out. That's a very bizarre prank. Makes me uncomfortable. Do your job and get out of the house. So weird. Totally unprofessional and immature. Are you sure these guys didn't have a reason to distract you for 30 minutes? Why would they want you running around looking for a cat? Were they casing the place? Looking for things to come back and steal? Very suspicious, as it's not even a remotely funny joke. All the above. Unprofessional, immature, suspicious, risk of having cameras planted, and potential burglars. Cat burglars. What caught my attention was, they played this joke on the other women as well. It sounds like they have a specific type of target. It's not a prank. It was a power play. I highly doubt they would do this to a male. They seem to get off on harassing women while doing their job. Not only should you have filed a complaint, but they should be fired and get a 1-star review on everything for this. So, me and my ex-wife, Kat, divorced about 2 years ago. There are no hurt feelings. It was a mutual decision. We have 2 kids together, Maya and Cameron. I'll be honest and say I don't like the schedule. It's a fair 50-50 schedule, but I don't like not seeing my kids all the time. Yes, before anyone comes at me, I understand that this was what I was signing up for when I divorced, but that doesn't make not seeing my kids any easier. Sometimes my ex-wife and I will let our kids come over on each other's time if we have something going on. I've been dating someone for a few months, Amy. Amy and I had a date last Wednesday. It was going to be around 6 at a movie. Around noon, Kat, my ex, messaged me saying she would be going on a date and asked if I wanted to come to grab the kids. I was glad because I wanted to see my kids, so I said yes, give me a minute to sort some things out. I then called Amy and asked if we could reschedule, and I'll take her tomorrow on the date and explained that I'd like to see my kids. Also, no, this is not a recurring thing. Usually Kat tells me a few days beforehand, but it was last minute. She got mad at me, especially for some reason, when I said I'd be picking them up at my ex's house, and she said that I was blowing her off to take time out of the day for my ex. I tried explaining that that was crazy. I'm not going there to have a few drinks. I'm picking up my kids. But apparently it was the same thing, and I was being very disrespectful to her by blowing her off to take time for my ex, and I'm disrespecting our relationship. So I told her that I really don't get why she thinks that, because I'm literally going to pick up my kids. This ended in an argument with her saying, "Fine," and then refusing to take any of my calls. I picked up my kids, but she still didn't answer me. I stopped trying. Then when I stopped calling, she started texting me about how much of an idiot I was, and she was breaking up with me. I said okay, but was I the problem here? I feel like I'm right here. I was getting my kids. I haven't introduced them yet because I think it's way too soon. I mean, I get it could be disappointing, but I don't feel like it was that bad. I would have taken her the next day. I don't feel like being with my ex was how it should have been taken, but it's how she took it. So, am I the idiot for canceling on my girlfriend to pick up my kids? You are the idiot. You canceled last minute on a date with your girlfriend, so your ex could have a date night instead of you and your girlfriend. To you, you see your kids. To Amy, you're dropping her last minute to support your ex's poor planning for her entertainment. She didn't call you to cover work or a medical emergency. How many ex-wives do this on purpose? Loads and loads. This is why I personally won't date anyone with children ever again. The children are turned into weapons to hurt the new partner, and the new partner's crazy for expecting respect and decency. Agree. I get you wanted to see your kids, but it was your wife's time with the kids, and you had a date planned with Amy. Blowing her off so your ex can go on her date is massive idiot territory. She was right to be mad with you. I would be too. And before anyone says the kids should come first, tell that to his ex, who dumped the kids on him the moment it was more convenient for her than rescheduling her date. And no, she didn't strong-arm him into it. She merely used the fact that he wants to see his kids as much as he can as a form of leverage. Disagree. If the ex said, "You need to take the kids or I can't go on a date," that's facilitating. If he said no, the ex could have had a sitter ready, and he chooses to spend more time with the kids. That's being a dad. He prioritized his kids over a girlfriend he's known for only 3 months. Good on him for knowing his priorities. Not the idiot. She doesn't want a man who's a dad first. She sees your children as competition, and you being forever linked to your ex because of the kids as a huge problem. She's jealous of that connection. It's good that she showed her true colors this early and went ahead and ended things because she would have been terrible with your kids. I, 44 female, have 2 children with my husband, a boy toddler and a girl toddler, and a bonus daughter, 18, Emily. My stepdaughter's been living with us for 6 months this past year. She moved in because she told us her mother kicked her out since they didn't have a good relationship, and her mother said she was too problematic. Since her moving in, I've been very welcoming, and I've spent more than enough money to help Emily get on her feet. This includes work shoes, comforter sets for her bed, hair products, clothing, and underwear. We told her that she could live here as long as she needed, but since her moving here, she's become a burden to both my children and me. My children and I are used to a regimen of waking up, spending time with my husband, him dropping them off at daycare, and he goes to work. And when he gets home, I cook, clean, and we spend the rest of our night with the kids. My stepdaughter's become a burden. She's become entitled, and whenever she needs anything financially, she will either ask myself or my husband. For example, when I bought her work uniform, she kept the job for 3 weeks and then quit because she didn't like her coworkers. She's taken most of my savings, taken time for my children and husband, and used that time for herself, and has been extremely unappreciative of what I've done for her. I told her she needed to figure out a living plan because she is 18 and a legal adult, and that she needs to start adulting. She mentioned how she was in school, online, and I told her that wasn't enough since there were more hours in the day and she could do more than be lazy all day and use her computer as an excuse. She told me that I was jealous of her relationship with my husband, and I reminded her that she was living in our home rent-free. I told her that she should be lucky that I treated her as my own because not everyone would do such with their stepchild. My husband thinks that I'm wrong for saying this to her and that what I did was harsh, but I don't see how when she's 18 years old and she's grown. So, am I the idiot? You are the idiot. You certainly do not treat her as one of your own. If you did, then you wouldn't have said that to her. You also told her she was living in your house. It's her dad's house. Therefore, it should be her home too. You do sound jealous that she's there interacting with her father in the evenings. You also don't sound like you're buying her extravagant things. You're providing her just the basics. Everything you're complaining about is a typical teenager. Your children will be the same way. Oh, and she starts off by saying 2 children and bonus child. I see it negatively as I got this extra kid. Now I've got to care for it too. OP, since school isn't enough for her to do, why aren't you telling her about your own job? Because from the sound of it, you're a stay-at-home mom but without the kids. What are you doing all day after your husband drops the kids off at daycare? She's marinating in resentment. You are the idiot, OP. The fact you told her she's lucky that you treat her as your own shows that you draw a deep divide between her and your own. By all means, stop spending your savings on this girl, but you need to get over the fact that this has upset the strict routine that you had in place before she moved in. She has a right to speak with her dad and hang out with him as much as her siblings do. She's a teenager, being thrown around because no one wants her, and instead of trying to help, you're adding to her burden. Do you really believe she spent her own money? She has no job. Her husband provides. So she's basically announcing that she's annoyed the father brought his daughter some basic necessities. The 18-year-old is right. OP is bitter and jealous of their relationship. My 29 male, wife 30, and I have a preschool son. As Halloween approached this year, my son let me know he wanted to dress up as a character from his favorite show. Unfortunately, these aren't costumes that are readily available to buy, so I was going to have to do some crafting magic and make them. I'm a stay-at-home father and my wife is a workaholic. She could cut down on her hours if she wished, but she's always been a very work-driven and focused person. She's not very maternal. Because of this, my son has never been very attached to her. They have time together at dinner, but it's always just me, even when my wife is off at work, like during bath time and bedtime. This isn't me complaining. I signed on for the stay-at-home dad life, and I enjoy every minute of it. I just wish, for his sake, that she would be more involved. About a month before Halloween, my son asked if my best friend, 35 male, could dress up with us. He had already assigned himself and me a specific character, and I had started work on the costumes, so I figured adding one more wouldn't be a big deal. He adores best friend. They have such a sweet bond, and have since my son was born. I asked my best friend if he wanted to join our trick-or-treating, and he immediately agreed. During dinner the night following this, I asked him what character he wanted his mom to be. My son said he only wanted to go trick-or-treating with his daddy and best friend. Over the next month, I would casually bring it up again to my son, who continually gave the same answer. My wife was clearly hurt, but would always brush it off. Fast forward to Halloween night. I had spent weeks working on these little costumes for all of us. As we were getting ready, my wife and I got into a big argument over the fact that she didn't have a costume. I pointed out that if she had wanted me to make her one, she could have requested that I do so, or she could have gotten one for herself. She said it was ridiculous that the three of us were doing a matching theme, leaving her out of it, and that she wasn't even going. In the end, best friend and I took him trick-or-treating alone, and my wife still isn't speaking to me because she can't believe I went without her. Am I the idiot? Why did you let your preschooler exclude mom and just kind of roll with it? Especially since you say that she was hurt by it, and also that you wish they had a stronger bond. I don't want to trick or treat with mom. How come? Mom's very excited to go with us. I think it'll be so much fun if we all go together. It's that easy, OP. Exactly. You are the adult in charge, and you should have made sure to include your wife with a costume that matched. Your entire post comes across as judgmental and whiny. You seem to want to prove that you're the better parent. What's that about? If you're unhappy, talk to your wife. Don't use your son to punish her. Do better by your wife and your son. OP's post is dripping with resentment toward his wife, in my opinion, so he was probably more than happy to exclude her and blame it on the kid. I must go with you are the idiot, OP. I'm waiting for the update where you turned the guest room into an art studio for the best friend without discussing it with your wife. My 48 male, daughter's 26, wedding was yesterday. She moved back to our home state of Utah with her fiance after living in Boston for college and dental school. She didn't seem happy to be back here and said she only moved back because her husband's 28 company transferred him here. She knows that in our area, families run large. She's one of 3 kids only because my wife, 47, became sick after our youngest, but it's not uncommon to have families of 8. So when she started planning her wedding, she started worrying about venue capacity and having to spend money on babysitters. For couples with small kids on her list, she made it clear that she could not accommodate kids 4 or under at this wedding. That caused a lot of ire, and we got phone calls asking why. My daughter's rationale was that she thought older kids would enjoy a party more. My daughter's younger sister, Ashley, 24 female, has been married for 2 years and begged her sister to invite her husband's brother and his wife to the wedding too. Ashley's brother-in-law, 41, and his wife, 33, have 5 kids, 4 of whom are under the age of 4. When they RSVP'd, they indicated they'd only be bringing their preteen daughter. I know Ashley's husband's brother well, as he funded my brother's new business and employs Ashley's husband, my son-in-law, in a job that allows Ashley and him to be full-time parents to their kids. However, that side of the family took a while to warm up to Ashley, as they were wary of newcomers. So the day of the wedding comes, and everybody arrives with the kids they RSVP'd for, and then Ashley's brother-in-law arrives early with all 5 of their kids in tow. The nanny they had for their kids is not there. My daughter's angry when she hears of this, and they explained that their younger kids were upset and wanted to be in these wedding pictures too. An argument ensues where my daughter says that they had on-call nannies and just for whatever reason decided this was the event they didn't want to leave their kids for. I took over, and Ashley's getting upset, and her brother-in-law and sister-in-law won't budge. The toddlers are getting anxious and starting to cry loudly, and I finally tell my daughter just to let them in or we'd be here forever. She asked why I was taking their side, and I finally said that she needs to lift this child-free policy for the family or cancel the wedding because I was done with her rules and leaving. My daughter says, "Really, Dad? Way to take sides." She then stormed off, and there was a minute where she was considering walking down the aisle with her future father-in-law. She ends up relenting, but says her wedding is marred by this event. Am I the idiot? I was afraid that this would become this standoff, and Ashley would face ire from her in-laws. OP, you are the idiot, and so is the unwanted guest and their unwanted children. Your daughter did her best to be gracious and allow that family to attend, only to be kicked in the teeth by them and you. They and you caused a scene at her wedding, not her. She was simply trying to hold firm to a reasonable boundary during her wedding, and you went full idiot and threw a tantrum like, "I'm going to leave. This wedding is over." You can justify it by saying you were trying to keep the peace in someone else's family, but you did it at the cost of the peace in your own family. Ashley's husband's brother funded my brother's new business, so I decided to invite brother's co-founder's whole family. Of course it was hard to follow the chain. OP didn't even give the bride daughter a name, but he mentions Ashley by name 9 times. You're right. Ashley was a good girl and got a man young, you see. The oldest daughter is a crone of 26, who's wasted precious fertile years learning books in a big coastal city. Why on earth does she deserve a name? I just weep for the bride with no name. You clearly have a favorite, and it's not the nameless daughter that just got married. Father of the Year. Way to ruin your daughter's special day, and probably your relationship with her and her side of the family. How do you think all the other people felt when they saw 4 toddlers walking in after being told they couldn't bring their own? Hope kissing Ashley's in-laws' family's butt was worth it. That's clearly everything you seem to care about. I, male 51, live with my wife, 49, and 3 kids, a girl 24 and 2 boys, 21, teen. I pay the mortgage, I pay the bills, I pay for groceries. My wife works, and her money goes for our vacations and retirement. We're happy with this arrangement. She makes about $85,000 a year. I make more. My daughter has a job that she got after college. My middle kid works part-time while he's in school to pay for extras. All 3 of my kids will graduate their undergrad with no debt. I work weird hours and shifts. I'm writing this at 3:30 in the morning because I just got home. There was a note waiting for me on the fridge, berating me for eating a box of firecracker shrimp I found in the freezer and made myself for supper yesterday. Apparently, it was something my daughter had bought for herself. There wasn't any note on it in the freezer or anything. This has happened before, but I think it'll be the last time. I'm thinking of talking to my wife and asking her to tell my daughter that anything in the freezer or fridge that isn't labeled is fair game, or that she has to start paying for all of her groceries because she doesn't buy the basics. She eats all the groceries that my wife buys. I don't really have a problem with her living here rent-free and eating my food while she saves money. I have a problem with her calling me an idiot for eating food I found in my freezer in my house. I should probably add that in the past, I found out that more than once, food she got actually just meant food that she added to the grocery list that I paid for and her mom shopped for. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Assuming your wife does at least some of the grocery shopping, how are you supposed to know that the shrimp was hers? Of course you have to eat food from your own kitchen. Talk to your daughter about putting her name on something if she bought it special for herself. You are the idiot. Why are you incapable of having this conversation with your adult child yourself? Asking your wife to speak to her is ridiculous. You claim to be fine with this arrangement, but the "in my freezer in my house" and specifying that it's you that pays for bills and not your wife makes it sound like you feel entitled because you're the breadwinner. Why is it relevant that your kids aren't paying for college except to basically give another reason why your money's so important? If you aren't okay with your 24-year-old daughter living there rent-free and not paying for groceries, that's fine. She's 24. But then don't say you are. That's the root of this. Yeah, I pay for everything. My wife only pays for retirement and vacations. Sounds crazy. Talk to your daughter and eat unlabeled food from your fridge. But number 1, use your words and tell your kids you want them out. Number 2, funding your retirement is a lot. And I hope your wife pulls this petty BS when you try to buy shrimp after retirement. I, 28 male, have been dating this girl, Amy, 29, for 2 years. We met through a mutual friend and things were going well up until a few days ago. Amy has 2 kids from a previous relationship, twin boys that are pre-tweens now. I get along great with them. Amy and I discussed moving in together and how that would all work out with the kids. Things didn't seem like a problem till she asked if we could find a place where I could afford to pay rent on my own in case she became a stay-at-home mom. I asked in what instance she would become a stay-at-home mom when we aren't planning on having more kids, Anna got a vasectomy 2 years ago that she knows of. She said it's always been her dream to be a stay-at-home mom for her kids, and that the boys would benefit a lot from having her home. She said she knows it'll be a lot for me to take on, but she would appreciate it if we could talk about it and possibly make it happen as soon as we move in together. We discussed it, and I told her I was honestly uncomfortable with the idea of being the sole breadwinner for our 4-person household. I could afford rent on my own, but groceries, bills, stuff the kids would need, etc. I can't afford all that. And if I could make it work, that would leave nothing for savings. I also said the boys are in school most of the day, and although I agree that any child will significantly benefit from having a parent available 24/7, I don't think it's a necessity. I also told her I'd be stressed out having them all rely on me. She said she understood and that it was okay. We didn't speak about it again. Her mom called me about a week after I discussed it with her. Her mom started the conversation sweet enough before getting to the point. She asked why I decided to date a single mother if I was unwilling to step up for her and her kids. This kind of made me angry. I didn't know deciding to date a single mom meant that I'd have to happily be financially responsible for them all. I told her with all due respect, this was between me and Amy. She said Amy won't have more kids because she's with me, and this is her only chance of being completely devoted to her kids. And although I can easily afford it, I'm being stingy because I simply can't be bothered to make a sacrifice. My blood was boiling, and I was trying not to say something rude back. I told her it wasn't her business and cut the call. I spoke to Amy and asked her what the heck her mom was on about. She said she needed someone to vent to about the situation, and her mom just had her best interest at heart. She said she thought it would be better for me to get her mom's perspective and then decide. I asked if it would be okay to tell my mom that my girlfriend was asking me to bankroll her and her children's lives and watch my mom call her names for it. She said I was taking things too personally and should have expected things not to go great after our discussion. I'm at a loss here. Edit. For everyone asking about the children's dad and if he pays child support, he isn't a bad person. He's just broke and lives halfway across the world. He couldn't pay child support if he wanted to, given he can barely care for himself financially. He also has a lot of health issues that make it difficult for him to work. He calls the kids often and is as involved as one can be in his situation. She makes enough to care for herself and her kids, so it's been okay for them financially. Wow, the audacity. Since you're happy to play with my kids, now pay for them. Oh, and me too. Why? Because I said so. Not the idiot, but you realize she plans to make this happen, whether you agree or not, right? You'll move in together and she'll get let go, then have trouble finding a job. This is how it sounds to me too. She already decided not to work and she has a meal ticket, and right now she's just in the process of making it happen one way or the other. Also, the last line about you should have expected that things would not go great when you make me angry. Wow, that statement alone would give me serious pause about continuing a relationship with someone. Delta, out of there, mate. This will not end well, for you at least. She's trying to use you for your finances, and if she wants to be a stay-at-home mom, tell her to get more child support from baby daddy. LOL, yep, all of this. She's a hot mess. And getting mommy on board to shame OP? She just wants free time. Her kids are in school. How much time is going to be spent just watching TV? You can stream every reality TV show these days, so she has years worth of content there. Dude, her mom can finance her stay-at-home dream. I, 25 female, am pregnant with me and my husband's 25 first baby. We are very excited as I'm only a few weeks from giving birth. My baby is the first grandchild on both sides, so naturally, everyone's very anxious to meet them. We live multi-generationally with my husband's family. We all live on a large property together. My husband's grandparents, parents, and siblings also live here. His grandparents live in their detached apartment, while my husband and I live in a large apartment in their finished basement. We have our own entrance, kitchen, laundry, 3 bedrooms, etc. His siblings and parents live upstairs from us. I am very grateful for the opportunity to raise my baby in such a large village and so close to family. Now on to the issue at hand. In a group chat, I informed my family of the boundaries we would be implementing after the birth, one of which is that we will not be having any visitors in the hospital and won't be having visitors in our home until the baby is at least 2 weeks old. This includes even my husband's family, who lives with us, as I may not feel up to seeing them either while freshly postpartum. The exception to this rule is that I know if I need any support or help, I will ask my mother-in-law, who can quickly come downstairs. I trust my mother-in-law not to intrude on this special time, but I know she'll be a great resource and support person. I've become very close with my mother-in-law over the years, and I'm not at all close with my mom. We are extremely low contact for reasons I won't go into, and I only see her a couple of times a year. I was hesitant to allow her to visit at all, but my husband convinced me otherwise, even though she's always been very mean and unwelcoming to my husband. But the man is a saint and doesn't want me to lose my relationship with her completely. Anyway, my mom was extremely upset at this message. She told me that it was unfair that my mother-in-law would be able to bond with my baby while she wouldn't get the same privilege. She said that I was being hypocritical for saying I won't allow visitors except for my mother-in-law. I told her I was sorry she felt that way, but that my mother-in-law isn't technically a visitor. We literally live in the same house as her. On the other hand, my mom lives 45 minutes away, and I'm not willing to entertain her when I need to focus on my baby. Also, personally, I would like to have some mother figure during the process, and I would rather it be my mother-in-law than my mom, but I am starting to feel like I may be acting unfairly. I could use some advice. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. There are clear reasons why you have been low contact with your mother, and she's not doing a darn thing to give you cause to reverse that. Stand your ground and let her know that if she's that unhappy with you, then no contact it'll be, and that'll settle the matter. You have a great situation with your husband's family and excellent support. Embrace that and give your baby and yourself a low-stress, loving, meaningful time. Your baby will have one wonderful grandmother, which is certainly better than 2 when the second is this problematic. Oh boy, it took my mother-in-law 4 years to understand when my wife and I said no. It means no. OP, you don't have to do a darn thing about visitors beyond saying yes or no. You don't have to offer excuses, reasons, or lollipops. Nothing. You are the boss. Just a reminder, tell the nursing staff at the hospital, if you give birth in a hospital, who is and who isn't allowed to visit you. They will protect you if your mother decides to impose herself on you. I, 33 male, and my girlfriend, 27, had been living together for about a year, together for 2. Since we've been together, she's always had this hobby of making dice for TTRPGs. I don't really understand how it works because I'm not into it, but the dice she makes are beautiful, even to someone who doesn't understand. She's always sold them. She takes a long weekend every fortnight and mass produces 20 or so full sets, and then she sells them. They always sell out pretty instantly, and I knew she made money, but not how much. And to be honest, I don't really care as long as she pays her half of the bills, which she always does. Unfortunately, after making them this past weekend, she broke her wrist, and she needed help to put up her listings because she couldn't type well. I found out that she sells them for 100 to 115 pounds. I expressed my surprise that people spend that much on these things. She was offended, and I tried to explain that I didn't mean it like that, and I just don't understand why people spend that amount of money on things like this. It wasn't supposed to be an insult to her artistry. She was upset and ended up asking someone else to help her and expressed how hurt she was because she worked so hard on them. She hasn't been silent, but is definitely withdrawn, and things aren't the same. I can tell she's upset with me, and her sister keeps calling me an idiot. Am I the idiot here? You are the idiot, and here's why. You called it a hobby, and you didn't even know how much she sells them for, how it works, or even ever look at her store. This isn't about your single comment. This is a long 2 years of you belittling her business. It's her job. Whether you've meant to or not, like, bro, 2 years and you've never looked? Not even once? Bruh. Right, like she makes dice every other weekend. That's a lot of dice over 2 years. He's never asked questions once? Never looked at her online listings once? Or gone to a craft fair with her once? If they'd had this conversation 18 months ago, it would be different. But it's been 2 years and he doesn't know anything about her business at all? Selling out immediately also means she's really good at what she does. I disagree. Sounds like a normal foot-in-the-mouth moment. Not the idiot OP. I totally get what you meant. You didn't know there was a demand for a high-value bespoke dice market. I can't understand people paying hundreds of dollars for Legos. It's nothing I've ever cared about. It's the same with concerts. I'm not a huge music person, so spending a ton of money to go to a concert seems bizarre and wasteful to me. That doesn't mean I don't recognize singers' talent as artists or that Legos can be amazing. It just means I don't get it. I've been with my husband for 4 years, married for 1. He has 3 kids from his ex-wife. Admittedly, he has a strained relationship with his kids because his ex-wife and he had a bitter divorce. She took the kids and left the country. There was a lot of parental alienation going on. The kids live in a boarding school in their home country. They visit their mom on the weekends and spend holidays with us. The kids are 2 teens and a tween. 4 months ago, their mom sadly passed away. My husband has full custody and wants to move the kids back once the semester finishes. The kids don't want this as they're comfortable in boarding school and have their maternal family there. They've asked their maternal grandparents to fight for custody. They don't have the means to do that. My husband is still insistent. I told him he was being selfish. After losing their mom, it's not a good idea to rip them away from their only other support system. That boarding school has been their home for most of their lives, and it would be cruel to rip them away now. I suggest taking this more slowly and even moving there to be near them. I work remotely, and my husband can move his job. My husband is furious at me, accusing me of being an evil stepmom and hating the kids. He says he's rethinking our marriage. I don't know what to do. I want what's best for the kids. They live in Northern Europe, and we live in the U.S. I hate the schools here, not to mention all their extended family is there. I just don't think they would react well to this change, and it would only alienate them more. Am I the idiot? Edit. I feel like I need to add this. My husband doesn't want to move back, mainly because of his ex's family. My husband's parents and his ex, let's call her Laura, were best friends. So my husband and Laura grew up together. They started dating at 19. At 20, my husband lost his parents, so Laura's family took him in and supported him through university. When Laura got pregnant with their youngest, she said she wanted to move to the U.S., so they did with the help of her family. When the youngest was 1 year old, a man reached out to my husband, claiming to be the possible father of the kid. Turns out that Laura had been having an affair for 2 years, and the whole family knew. That's why they insisted on moving to the U.S., because Laura herself didn't know who the father was, and the guy wanted a paternity test. Long story short, a test was done, hubby was the father. She moved back with the financial support of her family, and my husband was left alone in the U.S. Since then, he's been no contact with the whole family and bit his tongue for the sake of the kids, but moving back would mean seeing them regularly. These were people he considered his second parents. Laura's siblings he considered his siblings. It sucks to be the only compassionate and thinking person in a couple, doesn't it? OP, all your reasons to leave the children in place and move yourselves to be near them and their support system and extended family sound really well thought out. Yeah, you really sound like an evil stepmother for that. But yeah, imagine the crap show if 3 upset teenagers are brought to another continent to live, away from their school, friends, and maternal family, just because, what, their dad can? Because he has full custody now? Watch him flex his power since his ex is dead and she can't stand in his way. Or does he not want to spend the money on the boarding school? And your husband is rethinking your marriage because you disagree with him? Maybe he isn't the only one that should be rethinking things. Not the idiot. It's astounding he had a contentious divorce from his children's mother. Truly a mystery how that might have happened. OP, I think your suggestions make the most sense. But if the dude had his kids ripped away from him like you describe, then I get him wanting to make the most of this opportunity to have a relationship with them without any parental alienation interference. But ripping them away from their entire support network, friends, and a school they adore will not build a great relationship with them. It's just going to alienate them further, and they'll go completely no contact when they're 18. Your husband is being selfish, and his kids are going to resent him for it. In my family, there are a lot of child-free people. I just don't understand them. I don't understand why someone would have a problem with those adorable little humans. Most of the weddings in my family are child-free, and when people found out I was not planning a child-free wedding, they kept calling me and asking me to reconsider because they didn't want their nights to be ruined by kids. It was very annoying to us. So my fiance and I decided that since they couldn't handle being in the same place as kids, and since we wanted the kids to be in our wedding, we wanted to have a wedding free of any child-free people. Now they're mad that they got uninvited and think we're idiots. But I think if it's okay to exclude kids, then it's okay to exclude adults. Am I the idiot for throwing a child-free free wedding? Edit. I didn't uninvite all the people without kids. I just uninvited those child-free people who make it their whole personality. Not the idiot. I admire your logic. I agree with you. Children make a wedding. They kept calling me and asking me to reconsider because they didn't want their nights to be ruined by kids. It is not their night. It's yours. Your question is oddly phrased, and you only want to invite people who prove that their collective ovaries and vast deference work? No, that's not strange at all. You are the idiot, OP. You sound like the type of person who would think their kid is special and can do no wrong. Insufferable. Enjoy your daycare wedding. I bet they're quite relieved to be uninvited because, to be honest, you sound like a nightmare. I mean, your wedding your choice, but the motivation behind the choice seems kind of petty and spiteful. And logically wrong. Kids can ruin an adult evening. Adults will not ruin a kid's evening. It's like saying, all Floridians are Americans, therefore all Americans are Floridians. Given that you're burning many bridges and annoying people for no other reason than your own smug satisfaction, it seems like you're outsmarting yourself on this one. Some of you are missing the point of this. OP was fine inviting anyone until people of a certain mindset started telling them who they can and cannot have at their wedding. That's when OP decided to say, well, if you want to not be around kids, then you aren't invited. It isn't really about your personal opinion of kids. What makes OP not the idiot is that they refuse to bow to pressure.